On Wednesday, President Trump signed executive actions on immigration, which he says will result in the United States getting control of its border starting today.
The Secretary of Homeland Security, working with myself and my staff, will begin immediate construction of a border wall. So badly needed. You folks know how badly needed it is. As a help, but very badly needed. This will also help Mexico by deterring illegal immigration from Central America and by disrupting violent cartel networks. As I've said repeatedly to the country, we are going to get the bad ones out, the criminals and the drug deals and gangs and gang members and cartel leaders. The day is over when they can stay in our country and wreak havoc.
President Trump also ordered the creation of more detention centers for the processing of illegals crossing the border. He added more federal border control agents, and the federal government will withhold grants from so-called sanctuary cities that do not comply with immigration law. Moreover, Trump announced that his administration will be working in partnership with Mexico to improve safety and economic opportunity for both countries. And Pope Francis said in an interview this past weekend that he's taking a wait-and-see approach before judging the new American president. He warned that populism could lead to a new Hitler. Speaking to the Spanish daily El País, he said of that emerging populism in Europe that it brings to mind the classic example of Germany in 1933. Germans, he said, wanted to protect themselves with walls and barbed wire so the country could have its identity back. Adolf Hitler said, "I can do it." Pope Francis did underline that it was too early to judge Trump. In a congratulatory note before the inauguration, the Holy Father urged Mr. Trump to show concern for the poor, the outcast, and those in need who, quote, stand before our door. An apparent reference to refugees and migrants. On the pro-life front, President Trump is holding off on announcing his pick for the U.S. Supreme Court until next week. As part of his first set of executive orders, he reinstituted a federal funding ban on international aid groups that perform, procure, or provide information on abortions. Known as the Mexico City policy, the regulation was instituted in 1984 by President Ronald Reagan. At the White House on Monday, Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked if more pro-life measures are to be expected from the new president.
Well, I think the president, it's no secret, has made it very clear that he's a pro-life president. He wants to stand up for all Americans, including the unborn. And I think the reinstatement of this policy is not just something that echoes that value, but respects taxpayer funding as well.
And the U.S. House of Representatives voted this week to permanently ban taxpayer funding of elective abortions. For the past 40 years, Congress has regularly voted for a year-to-year funding ban known as the Hyde Amendment. Besides not being permanent, there were loopholes in the Hyde Amendment. Just 3 Democrats joined Republicans in supporting the legislation. The bill now moves to the Senate. We'll discuss more about it later in the show. And a new expose video from the pro-life group Live Action shows Planned Parenthood refusing prenatal care to women. Live Action investigators called on 97 Planned Parenthood clinics to ask about prenatal care. They were turned away 92 times, the pro-life group said.
Hi, I was hoping to make an appointment for prenatal care.
For what type of service?
Prenatal care, pregnancy care.
We don't have prenatal care here. Planned Parenthood offers abortion, so they don't offer prenatal care.
To justify the $500 million in taxpayer dollars received annually by Planned Parenthood, Cecile Richards, the president and CEO of the organization, has said repeatedly that its patients depend on Planned Parenthood for prenatal care. Its leaders claim that being defunded would hurt millions of women who need prenatal care, breast exams, and birth control. Live Action plans to release more videos in the coming weeks. And at the Vatican, Pope Francis asked for and received the resignation of leader of the Knights of Malta, Grand Master Fra Matthew Festing. The Catholic lay order became subject to a papal investigation after it fired one of its leaders. Festing had refused to cooperate with a papal commission investigating the ouster of the former Grand Chancellor over revelations that the Knights' charity had distributed condoms during his watch. The Vatican intervention is extraordinary, as Malta is a sovereign order which runs a vast charity network around the globe. After meeting with the Pope on Tuesday, Festing decided to resign. Complicating the situation, the Vatican announced that they were appointing a papal delegate to the order. Here to shed light on this situation and what it all means is a member of the papal posse and chaplain to the Knights of Malta, Father Jerry Murray. Father, thank you for being with us.
Good to be with you, Raymond.
Father, does the Pope have the right to accept the resignation of the Grand Master of Malta and pressure him to resign?
Well, strictly speaking, the Pope does not have the legal authority to accept the resignation of the Grand Master because he neither appointed nor approved the election of the Grand Master. The Grand Master was elected by the Sovereign Council of the Order of Malta, because Malta, the Order of Malta, is a sovereign entity. So unlike any other religious order, it has its own juridical existence apart from the Holy See's oversight. It's a unique institution in the history of the Church, and the sovereignty has been a question that's been debated over the centuries. But strictly speaking, the Pope, he can ask the Grand Master to resign. Pope can ask any Catholic to do things the Pope thinks he should do. But strictly speaking, the resignation is offered to the Sovereign Council, and the Sovereign Council will then accept it.
Some are suggesting, Father Jerry, that this is really about the cardinal patron of Malta, Cardinal Raymond who's been in a public debate with the Pope over teaching regarding divorced and remarried Catholics receiving communion. Do you think there's any truth to that? And what does this tell us about the Pope's concern for a charitable order distributing condoms abroad?
Well, Cardinal Burke's role, he does not run the Order of Malta. He is the cardinal patron, which means he's the Pope's representative to the order, to be a point of contact and to help guide them in religious matters. As far as I can see, the problem here has been between what the Grand Master did in firing the number 3 in the order, because he was responsible for a program of aid in the Far East that included immoral activities, the giving condoms and other contraceptive means under the aegis of the Order of Malta's charitable action. And the Grand Master was not happy about that. There was an investigation done. This wasn't a matter of an overnight decision on his part. And once that information was presented to the Grand Master by those who investigated it, he felt that he had to take this step. Now, the Holy See, through Cardinal Parolin, expressed displeasure with this action, and then the Pope established a commission that was going to investigate what happened, and the order said, no, we're sovereign. This is a matter of governance. This is a matter of our independent existence as a sovereign entity. We control how we monitor and supervise those who work in our organization. And it's kind of stunning because that committee was formed and their work hasn't been completed, even though the Grand Magistracy, the Grand Master, and the Sovereign Council said they wouldn't cooperate with it. The committee went ahead and started its work. And even before that's done, the Pope asked for his resignation. So it's something that I find very troubling as a chaplain of the order and as a canon lawyer also, because this essentially is a Vatican takeover of the Order of Malta. By appointing a delegate, the Pope is now saying that he's in charge of the Order of Malta, and its sovereignty, in effect, disappears, because sovereignty means we decide for ourselves how we structure our government ruling structure and class. And in this case, a Grand Master and the Sovereign Council. A Grand Master is now gone, or will be gone if his resignation is accepted. And the Sovereign Council is told that they're going to have an outsider becoming the ruler of the order. I'm very troubled by that.
Very good. Father Jerry Murray, we'll see how this story develops in the days ahead. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Raymond.
And here in the U.S., a couple of bishops appear to be thwarting two of Pope Benedict's outreach initiatives to disaffected Anglicans and those devoted to the traditional Latin Mass. Starting in Rockford, Illinois, Bishop David Malloy has instructed priests in his diocese that they must now ask permission before offering the traditional form of the Mass. The order appears to directly contravene Pope Benedict's 2007 motu proprio Summorum Pontificum, which removed the need for priests to ask for and receive an indult from a bishop to perform the Latin Mass. According to the letter issued earlier this month, Bishop Malloy said there was a need for liturgical unity. In the same vein, Bishop Malloy has also outlawed the ad orientem posture, that is, the priest facing the altar during any Mass. Just last year, the ad orientem practice was encouraged by Cardinal Robert Sarah, the prefect of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. And in San Antonio, Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller has removed the pastor of an Anglican youth parish who was seeking to have his congregation leave the diocese and join the ordinariate created by Pope Benedict for former Anglicans. Father Christopher Phillips of Our Lady of the Atonement Parish was removed for, quote, pastoral concerns. The Archbishop noted concerns, again, over unity. By way of background, Anglican youth parishes and the ordinariates created by Pope Benedict allow for the retention of certain elements of the Anglican liturgy while still being fully Roman Catholic. Father Phillips, a former Episcopalian who was ordained to the Catholic Church in the 1980s, is popular among parishioners and credited with growing the parish school. In a one-page letter to parishioners, Archbishop Garcia Siller noted his concerns about expressions in the life of the parish that indicate an identity separate from, rather than simply unique, among the parishes of the Archdiocese. According to reports, parishioners believe that Father Phillips was removed to prevent the parish from its long-time plan of leaving the Archdiocese for the Houston-based ordinariate of the Chair of St. Peter. And Opus Dei has a new leader. Pope Francis this week confirmed the election of Monsignor Fernando Ocadis Brana as the prelate. Monsignor Ocadis has been the auxiliary and longtime vicar general under the previous prelate, Bishop Echevarria, who died last month at the age of 84. A worldwide prelature now headquartered in Rome, Opus Dei has more than 90,000 members, including some 2,000 priests. And Oscar nominations were announced this week. Leading the pack with a whopping 14 nominations was the neo-Hollywood musical La La Land. A favorite to win Best Picture this year, La La Land's 14 nods tie it with Titanic and All About Eve for the most Oscar nominations for a single film. Also making a strong showing was Mel Gibson's Hacksaw Ridge. The World War II epic pulled in 6 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director for Gibson, and a Best Actor nod for Andrew Garfield. If you like musicals featuring non-singers and dancers desperately trying to emulate great talent of the past, then La La Land is for you. Oh, and there were a lot of other films nominated, but you didn't see them. The 2017 Academy Awards ceremony airs February 26th. Catch up on all the latest nods there. As some of you know, the sequel to my Will Wilder book for young readers, Will Wilder, The Lost Staff of Wonders, hits bookstores on March 7th. Now, you can pre-order it now at Amazon.com, EWTNRC.com, Barnes & Noble, and your local independent store. The first book, Will Wilder, The Relic of Perilous Falls, will be available in paperback and hardback on March 7th. And for a limited time, if you pre-order either book now and send me a receipt or confirmation of purchase, I'll send you a signed book plate and a limited edition bookmark. Email me at Raymond@RaymondArroyo.com for your signed book plate and bookmark. Write Will Wilder 2 in the subject line. Be sure to include your address, and we'll make sure your book is properly adorned.